Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. Here they come.
I think I'm still in denial. It's 26. Are we all in denial? It's 26?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
100%.
I feel like I'm going to be back to the future and just stick in the 80s or whatever. So,
Oh, could you imagine if we could go back to the 80s? Who else would like to just go back to the 80s for a hot minute?
mm,
Some of you are like, I wasn't even
no,
born.
Maybe 90s. I would go to the 90s.
I had really big hair back in the 80s.
I had big hair and blue
Lots of
eyeshadow.
Aquanet. You don't
Yeah.
remember Aquanet?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
My sister and I used so much Aquanet growing up that when my parents had to sell the house, they had to replace the bathroom door because every time we'd spray, we over the
I
time
was-
literally ruined the bathroom door with Aquanet.
That's funny.
No,
that's
The guys
hysterical.
are on here going, "What
That
the
is
hell are
funny.
y'all talking about this morning?"
I just remember that purple hairspray. I mean, these are the important things we talk about in the new year. Nick Nelson, I see you. What was that purple hairspray? Aussie something.
I
Oh
don't know,
yeah.
but yes, Aussie Bum. Aussie Bum? Is it Aussie
Yeah.
Bum?
Something.
Aussie
Aussie.
With
something.
the
Yeah.
kangaroo.
Aussie anything.
Yeah, Ozzy was, yeah.
Wait, I still use that.
That
actually,
was
I
the
did
cool
that.
hairspray in the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay, I didn't know it was a hairspray, but I like their 5 minute miracle, so don't
Yes.
judge me.
I still have
Oh,
it.
Okay, I'm
It's the
stuck in the
best.
80s. Obviously, I'm stuck in the 80s. So there you go. I had a perm, Jen. No, I can't even picture it.
I had a perm and I have curly
Jen had a
hair.
perm. This is hysterical. Guys on this
Third
call,
grade.
thank you.
Y'all remember Dorothy Hamill, like the Dorothy Hamill haircuts that were so popular?
Yeah.
Oh
Short and
yeah, I
sassy.
had it.
I had that, and I look back now and I'm like, my mother hated me. So yeah, my hair was super short. Like, oh my God. Anyway,
Okay, I'm gonna date
not go
myself.
back to
How
the
about
80s.
Farrah Fawcett?
Okay,
I
Yeah.
you're
was
dating
born
yourself.
in 1988, so I don't know what you ladies are talking
I
about.
knew it, Lizette. I
Somebody
knew
please
it.
kick Lizette off the call. She's.
80,
Whoops,
80.
Lizette
That's
just
the
got
year I
booted.
graduated from college.
My God, baby.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Lizette just
God.
got booted. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Wins, gratitude, kick it off, EXP community. I know you have tons of wins and gratitude to share this morning. Meredith Alderson, I see you unmuting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in Austin, the market is definitely picking up, which is exciting. So much activity. I'm ready for some contracts, but for now, just happy with the activity.
I agree with you on that, Meredith. Last weekend alone, I had 6 listing appointments. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So it'll be interesting for sure. Are you guys seeing that across the nation? I was
Yes.
just in Atlanta. I was just in Atlanta, what, a day ago? Jeannie, they were talking about how Atlanta is, and John, you guys were talking about how Atlanta is such a huge opportunity right now too. So I'm wondering where else is that going on? Nowhere? Okay, nowhere. All right.
We were fortunate to have Elizabeth Mastermind with us here on Wednesday. So it was we had a great couple hours of masterminding. That was very cool.
That was fun. It was fun to be back with
Yeah,
you
it's
guys
good.
and back in my old stomping ground. So I was grateful you asked me.
This is Barbara, and I'm not on camera because, I'm still putting my face on this morning. But I just read a report from U-Haul reported their inbound moves. They do a report every year. Texas is the number one in migration state, Dallas, Houston, and then Austin. So Austin's number three. So that's just we talk about, different factors that contribute to that. I just thought that was an interesting one because we haven't seen that. It's been a number of years now since we've Texas has been number one. So we're back to being number one inbound migration.
That's interesting.
I
This
have
is
a,
our first huddle. This is our first huddle for the new year, right?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all, there has to be a lot more gratitude and wins.
so
Elizabeth, I
yep.
see Carol on here. I don't know who else. There's a lot of faces, but we got up yesterday at 5:45, or we met at 5:45. So we had a wake up call about 4:30 in the morning, and went to the Unstoppable event in Dallas.
How was it?
It was incredible.
Incredible.
Did you crush it?
It was just everybody did. Just a lot about how we need to just be very front facing and very consistent. There was a lot of talk about having events, in your market with your clients, making it special. There's a lot about even postcards. Don Hobbs is evolving his 8x8. He kind of came up with the 8x8 a long time ago, the 8 touches, and evolving that. He gave a great speech, or a great talk. A lot about AI, and how we can be more efficient, different tools. And then there was Glenn Morshower, for any of you that were 24 fans or actor, or he's a very famous actor. He's so unassuming, and he's been in all these huge TV shows and movies. I mean, he's Transformers. He was one of the lead in 24. He's acted with Denzel Washington, like all these guys. He crushed it, and I hope everybody can go back and watch it because it was one of the best talks I've ever heard about confidence and calming your nerves, and you only live one life and make the most of it, So it was great day. And Elizabeth, not a plug, but it's probably going to be very similar to your Shine event, which is coming up.
If you guys don't have your tickets to Shine, I am asking you to get your tickets to Shine. Because we are notorious, by the way, for leaving everything to the last minute. And I have an apology for anybody who's ever done an event that if I left my stuff to the last minute, I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better because it's stressful trying to get numbers and everything together. So yes, Shine is on January 28th. If you guys don't know about it, we'll put it in the box. Oh, Stacy's already got there, but it's here locally. So I hope you guys are all there. This is going to be pretty impactful. I think it's going to be pretty impactful. And I don't ask a lot, so I'm asking now.
And I would say, guys and ladies, it is so powerful when you get in the right rooms. Like, I feel so much better today than I would if I wasn't there.
Are you back?
Yeah, we got back last night, like 11:30.
Yeah, y'all are crazy.
Yeah, but it was worth it. Ask Carol.
Good.
So.
I'm glad y'all went. What else do we have, y'all?
I have a fun win. I had jury duty January 5th. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to start the year, right? And you're thinking, oh my God, jury duty.
I love jury duty.
I
do. Anyway, go ahead.
My other life, I was a forensic psychologist before CSI, so they never want me on a jury because I did outpatient forensic work. And but I'm on the panel. My group gets chosen. We have to go upstairs. We go through, and I start befriending the two people I'm sitting with. Well, one of the women I'm sitting next to, she's part of a group that is trying to make Ellenwood, Georgia, its own city. And we started talking. I've now already had 2 phone calls with her and the other person who's heading this off. And we're talking about how we could get investors, they're going to do some low impact housing, how we could do all that. And that all started from a conversation. And you just never know where God is going to put you to get you in the right place.
So Jeannie, basically you're telling everybody not to try to get out of jury duty.
Yeah, because you don't know who you're going to, it's a whole new group of people that you normally don't know, right? So, yeah, turn it into a positive.
Good for you. You also just got a couple properties out of due diligence and you're rocking and rolling with 2 closings this month already, right?
And I'll be at Shine and I have 3 more listings. I just asked the attorney today. I was like, can you get me the legal description? I've got 3 listings I'm going to be putting up. So yeah, this year's starting to rock already.
Awesome. I love that. I want to brag on Megan and Sonia for a minute too. So they live in Austin, but they're helping build community in Houston and creating all these events and opportunities. So any of us that have Houston people, like they've got Party of 6 starting up. They've got AHA starting up. It's pretty cool to see them expand outside of our market. So thank you guys for doing that. I wanted to just applaud you both for taking the initiative.
There's also a WhatsApp group if you are in Houston and you need to build community. So message me or Megan if you want to get on that WhatsApp group if you're in Houston.
Awesome. All right, should we jump in?
Let's go.
All right,
Mr.
Yeah,
Mr. Ben Lobby coming in today with AI strategies. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I see you. I'm going to put you on spotlight. Happy New Year, friend.
Happy New Year. Been here the entire time.
Awesome. And what do you have for us today? Kick us
Quite
off.
a bit. Let me pull this up. Right. Here we go. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Let me get a chat up. Awesome. Well, good to see you guys. Happy New Year. Great to be here. I'm happy to talk to you guys about some AI implementation stuff that I've been working on and some tools that you can use moving forward as well. And I think we all know there's 1,000 real estate or AI related tools out there, and there's a bunch of noise. So I'm going to show you one way to solve some of that noise and to actually build credibility using AI and how you can implement it as well. Let me see if I can just get. And thank you, Janine, for that comment in the chat about it being the best 20 bucks you've spent in your business. That's awesome to hear. Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about how to build more credibility, because the problem right now, right, is our clients have a lot of information, and they have a lot of information like we do, and the same information that we do. So go ahead and put in the chat if you've experienced this already. Have you experienced you're talking to a client and you're trying to explain something, or you did explain something, or they asked you a question, right? The client says, well, what do you think of such and such? And you answer them. And then they said, well, ChatGPT said, right? Blah, 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 blah. Has anyone experienced that yet?
Yes.
All right. So that shows you the level of trust that clients are actually, taking to what ChatGPT provides them, right? So clients have unlimited information, whereas we used to be providers of information. Our value in the information that we're providing has diminished because information is now available everywhere, right? ChatGPT has unlimited information for people and consumers. So information is abundant, right? But confidence is not, right? And so that's why we're going to talk about how to kind of stand out when all of the knowledge is out there, right? So the real decisions that clients are making now is not about the knowledge, right? They assume the process, and you can probably start assuming that they know the home buying process. And it's not about the tools, because we all have the same tools and we all have access to the same tools, whether you use ChatGPT or any other AI tools, right? But it's about the understanding. And this is how to make sure that you stand out this year when you're communicating to your clients is, how do you showcase to your customer that you understand their scenario and the service that you're providing to them is personal to their scenario and their trade-offs, right? Because AI can't necessarily understand what they're going through and provide local expert advice that you can, right? And giving them or directing them through the right path and being their guide, right? So clients aren't just choosing homes, right? They're choosing a guide, and that's what they're choosing when they are making the decision of who they work with. So a couple questions to get it started. Who is using let's start with the first one. Who is using a buyer guide or a seller guide? Drop in the chat if you have a buyer guide or a seller guide that you send to your customers. One or the other, either one works. Awesome. Now, is it just one guide? Is it a, Do you have one buyer guide you send to all buyers, or is it customized? Good question. Is the buyer guide customized or is it generic? And when do you send it? Some people send it before they meet. Some people send it after. A couple generics. Yep. It's easy to start with the generics. That's where I started when I was building mine. And when you send it and you're meeting with customers, do you guys feel like the buyer guides help the conversation with your customers? Or do they not even read it? I love the Zoom presentation and presenting the buyer guide. That definitely works well. And Renee asks a great question that everyone should answer. What is the goal of the guide, right? Who has an answer to that question? You can unmute and let's discuss it real fast because it does actually come into play with what I'm going to go over today, right? What is your goal of the guide that you're delivering to the customer? And like I said, if it's just information and education, then there's room for improvement. Right?
Also, expectation and responsibility.
Expectation and responsibility. Okay, so you're setting what you expect your clients to do, and or you're setting what they should expect you to do.
It's both. It's both. Both ways, yes.
Love that. So this is what I expect you to do as a customer, and this is what I'm going to do as your service provider, right? Establishing expectation. Great to do that up front, right? Now, is it a sales item? Are you guys using this guide as a sales pitch, like Renee asked? Like, is this a look at me resource, or does it actually provide that reassurance and expectations? Lana mentioned in the chat, I think it gets the conversation started. You want them to ask questions. The interesting thing about these guides is you really got to define your use case, right? If you're getting the conversation started, does that mean you're using this guide with someone you haven't met and it's a sales piece? Or are you, like Sarah said, reassurance, expectations, and credibility, right? So let's talk about different strategies. And this is where AI can definitely help you guys improve some assets related to this subject, right? So if you don't have guides at all or any digital assets like this, hopefully this is going to be beneficial because we're actually going to go through the process of how to build one today as too, in a little demo. And the thing to remember is that the traditional buyer guides and seller guides are typically very generic, right? In the old days, like 18 months ago, it took a lot of time to put them together. We had to draft the content ourselves, right? And so a lot of people made one guide for all buyers and one guide for all sellers, right? But the problem is those guides now are out of date because they missed the mark. They're too generic and they really, really need to be more specific and personalized, right? So what we want to do is we want to go from the process of explaining, what the process is of buying or selling a home to shifting the content toward supporting that decision, right? Because you're going to be able to show and build credibility with your clients when you show them that they're understood and that you understand their situations and you have the confidence to be able to support the decisions that they either know they have to make or that they haven't made yet, right? So credibility here is contextual, right? So it's really focused on how can I make or provide information that is specific to their scenario. So in order to do that, right, we want to make sure our information is way more specific. And so we're going to call this the market credibility brief, right? And so this is your new goal for 2026. And this is, think of this as a new digital asset, right? That's a credibility piece that's really going to help your customers through making decisions. And the key here is focusing a market credibility brief on a specific niche. It's not one for all buyers out there, but how do we niche it down to a specific buyer that you want to work with, right? And then how do we build it around a specific scenario? Everyone knows on this call that the first conversation with a customer, you are gathering information. And by the end of that call, you kind of have an idea of who you're working with and what situation they're in and what they go through, right? So imagine if you can provide them a guide to what they're going to go on, or a market credibility brief that is solely specific on the experience that they're about to have, right? That is personalized to them. It's not just, oh, here's my FAQ, or, oh, here's my website where you can go search homes. It's hey, this is the journey that we're about to embark on together because I understand your situation and your scenario, right? So this brief is based on one scenario and addresses those specific trade-offs in that specific scenario, right? And it can be shared after that first real conversation. So whether that's the first initial phone call or your buyer consult where you gather a lot of information with the buyer, you can then provide a brief to reinforce the conversation that you had with the buyer that's specific to them. And you can, showcase it as a piece of something to build your credibility, right? And then it's really to be designed as, right, you never get all the questions answered on your initial call with a customer. It's very, very hard. People are busy. Some people don't like to talk a lot. Some people like to talk way too much. And you understand all aspects of their life, except whether or not they understand they can or can't afford the property yet. But the guide is really supposed to be designed as a way to help them make better decisions, or help the buyer make better decisions up front. So this is not a marketing piece. This isn't a public website that I'm talking about. This isn't for SEO purposes. This is really a digital asset to help the decision-making process for that specific customer. So does that sound like a valuable tool to y'all? Just drop it in the chat. Love your tip, Master, about intake form for investors to see if they're serious or not. Okay, awesome. So how do we make a market credibility brief, right? So the approach to designing one is scenario specific. So we're really going to focus on the different scenarios that your customers go through when they buy a house. So let's talk about this. What are some scenarios that different buyers experience, or what makes people move? Go ahead and unmute and throw out some ideas.
Why buyers move, relocation.
Relocation, yep, that's scenario specific. Perfect, great example. Divorce, love it.
I have several clients who have special need kids, and now we're trying to find the best public schools to serve them. So
Love
it's very
that.
specific, yeah.
Very specific, yep.
Growing families.
Growing families, love that.
I love how specific Jeannie just was. The two questions that come to mind when you pose this, Ben, are who are we seeking to serve? What are the solutions we provide those people? And getting as niche as possible with a resource like this. Your timing is spot on. I love it.
Like we coordinated, though, we didn't. I really need a seed to get video on here. Other niches or scenario specific. So those were three really good niche ones. Let's talk about decision-focused briefs, right? What would a decision-focused brief be that isn't necessarily scenario specific?
Can you give us more information?
Absolutely.
Decision, when you say decision-based?
Yeah, so sometimes the examples for scenarios specific are we're growing our family, right? That was an example. The special needs schools being in an area that supports special needs schools. A great example of decision focus would be typically like with investors, right? Our decision focused guide is we need to buy multifamily, right? Or we need to resize this asset. We need to do a 1031 exchange on this asset to, take it from, do a 1031 exchange to upsize an asset, right? So that I would say is more of a decision-focused brief because it's it's supporting whether or not the customer is going to make the decision to move forward with the purchase, right? So, Lana just put a great example in the chat. You can make a decision-focused brief for your investors, right? And this could be a very great idea of doing one that's Airbnb or regular long-term rental, right? So your marketing brief could literally be comparing those side by side, supporting that customer to make the decision between those two options, right?
That makes more sense. So one of the avatars that the Fund Collection has served for 2 decades is buyers who have an affinity for Walt Disney World, who have families that visit Walt Disney World 1, 2, 3 times per year. And those buyers often don't realize they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on hotel rooms at Disney World, often multi-generational, booking more than one hotel room. And so your decision-based guide would be showing them the difference between spending money on hotel rooms as compared to investing in a vacation home and owning equity, building equity through real estate. Am I following that right?
Yes, 100%, right? So as you guys hopefully can tell, right, just by discussing this as a group and coming up with these ideas, you can see that the information that you provide, that avatar, like Renee just mentioned, is helping that customer make a decision and making that process or supporting that decision-making process easier, which aligns you to be their guide in helping them make that decision, right? So instead of just saying, hey, when you travel to Florida, get a short-term rental, right? You're way more narrowed down to an impactful decision and supporting that impactful decision. So, okay. Which also means that these briefs can be intentionally specific in length, and obviously they're built toward a specific profile. Right. So for the problems that this type of structure will resolve, kind of reduces the overwhelmness of a client. If you ever talk to a client and they're like, I don't know where to start, right? Just like we deal with AI tools and products. I don't know where to start. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of discussion. If you can show them that you're very, very knowledgeable of their scenario, you're helping reduce their overwhelmness and the noise that they have to go through. And you're building that confidence for them to move forward. And for the team leaders on this call, obviously, if you have these marketing briefs that are specific to niches, or if you train your agents that way, then you are providing, high valuable assets that will help, start high quality conversations and hopefully have less repetitive explanations, right? So you're saving time on a lot of those basics because you can send someone this asset. Once you have that initial call and you know their situation and you know what scenario that is, then you can either build the asset specific to their scenario and send it to them, or if you already have the digital asset created, then you can just send it to them that way and then do a follow-up to make sure that they understood or to confirm it, right? Kind of like close the deal on the commitment. Okay. So let's show you what one of these actually works and how you use AI to do it. How the hell do I get videos back on the screen? All right, who has a couple different ideas already of ones that they can use?
What do you mean, Ben? Explain yourself more.
Great question. Yes. So if based on this conversation so far, how many marketing briefs would you want to make for your business in 2026?
Okay, got you now.
Drop it in the chat. Four, perfect. 12 to 16, love that.
Ben, I love this. You have me thinking is, so an agent has avatars they serve. It goes back to the who do you seek to serve and what solutions you provide. So when you think about these guides, I think the word guide is often, it creates overwhelm, to your point. Agents have thought, oh, well, if it's a guide, it's massive work and it should be so huge and it's so generic and it speaks to everybody. No, 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 no. If we think of it more micro, my brain wraps around who are the avatars that we serve? We have solutions for those avatars. And what are the biggest bottleneck pain points those individuals have that we solve for them? And at each of those bottleneck pain points, there could essentially be a guide. And a guide doesn't have to be 47 pages, it could be 2. So I'm being
100%.
messy right now because you have my creativity going. And can you pull me in, rein me in, or tell me I'm going in a good direction here?
Yeah, no, you're definitely going in a good direction. And the key is answering those pain points and answering those questions, right, that are going to come up in the conversation, right? And so just like with any marketing process, you have to basically build a funnel, but you have to answer those specific questions of who are you trying to serve, who is this content for, and that kind of thing, right? So the answers of how many guides can you do, right? You really should do a guide. And let's go back to briefs, right? That's why I didn't want to use the word guides on any of this, because like you said, guides are extremely long. They try to cover everything. You don't need a guide. Customers don't need a paper guide or a digital guide, right? Because that's ChatGPT. They need something specific to their scenario, right? So a simple brief that's like, this is our plan for you, the customer, right? This is our consulting plan to help you make decisions as you go through this process, right? So the brief it can be 1 page, it can be multiple pages. Well, what I want to show you is how you can really make this. There's a couple different layers here of how you can make it, and you can make it pretty quickly. And then I do have kind of like a workshop that you guys will be able to do and make a bunch of them, right? Because the brainstorming about what should be in one is really where the key asset come from, right? And this is the way to differentiate yourself as you're not an agent, you're an advisor. And what are people looking for now is advisors, right? We're out of that business. What other questions do you guys have about the concept though, before we get to the tactical part?
Nah, I mean, I would say like the buyer guide, like I know when you mentioned about that, like I don't send it over, but I just do it phone or face to face or Zoom. But with the investor intake I created 2 weeks ago, that's what I will be sending before I even speak with them, because that would based off of what they fill out, it would indicate to me if this person invests as a red flag or if they're serious, right? Then that narrows down on my time really working with that investor. They really, because someone you can tell me all day, Ben, I want a good deal. What does that mean?
100%.
You're not specific, right? Yeah. So yeah.
I love that. What does a good deal mean to you, right? And it's really helping, that intake form helps identify the client's expectations, right? So we've used intake forms in the past, and sometimes like you really want to get, personally for me, I think top level information on intake forms, because I don't think consumers love like filling out huge questionnaires, but it does give you enough to know how to direct that conversation. And I think the briefs, the marketing briefs, is a way where you can provide a lot of background information to support that scenario, right? So you can really kind of like be like, here's your specific plan, Mr. Investor, based off of the questions that the intake form that you filled out, and then the initial call that we had, right? Here is the brief for you, right? So you guys can get as detailed to doing this per customer, or you can do it per scenario or per customer decision, right? So if you work with like, I forgot her name from earlier, but the agent who works with a lot of families with disabled children and who want to find schools that support them and are the best for them, right? That's a market. So your brief can be specific toward that group of people that you serve, right? If you serve a lot of people who are considering, short-term rentals versus long-term rentals, right? Make a brief specific for that. So you really should be able to go through, and this would be the time, right, to go back and review every customer. Like if you guys struggle, because I did in the beginning, it took me like a year and a half to figure out what the hell an agent avatar was. And it took maybe 5 conversations with Renee and a few other people to really like wrap my hand around it, right? And so if you struggle with what your agent avatars are, or sorry, what your customer avatars are, then go back and make a list of everyone you served in 2025 and write down what their scenario was. What decision did they have to make, right? The couple that you sold that home in October, why did they buy? Were they relocating? Were they upsizing, right? Why did that customer do that transaction? If you document that for the last year, that will help you give you an idea of what type of customers you have history of serving, so that you can have a starting point of what type of briefs that you should be creating for those specific scenarios. Does that make sense? Perfect.
And I just want to say that I think that, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that the last class we did, and you told me to get everybody to go under the settings and say no fluff, like make sure that your chat GPT is very brutally honest with you. I made that change and it made a huge difference with how it talks to me now. So I just kind of wanted to point that out.
I'm happy to hear that. I
Jeannie, I
love
copy
women
that.
tips. Yeah.
Jeannie, I copy that because I did that too. From now on, that's what I do, and it's a game changer.
If if you want to be another tip in regards to that, you can add this one. So I always, in my prompting, I always say, ask questions for context. I ask in my request, but it's actually more impactful if you put that in the instructions for your ChatGPT. And the wording would be, when beginning a new task, ask 4 to 6 questions to gain more clarity. And so I just put it in the Zoom chat. So it's when beginning a new task, ask 4 to 6 questions to gain more clarity on the task requested. So if that's in your actual instructions, you'll see more consistency over ChatGPT asking you questions to get clarity on what you're trying it to do. So I know we're all a little bit like, I've gotten way more lazy in my prompting. So that's why I have more specific instructions so that it'll get more information on me. But Russ, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I have a question. Is it too general to be first-time home buyer with children versus first-time home buyer without children? Do I need to get it even more specific? As far as a particular brief?
What ways do you think you could get more specific?
Then it starts to be like maybe areas of town, North Austin versus South Austin.
And what information for those specific areas do you think would be valuable?
Proximity to their job. I don't know.
So you're asking.
I think that's the question. Do I need to get more specific?
Yeah, so you're asking great questions, right? And so the brief comes in after you have to know a little bit about the customer, because this is not a marketing tool. This is a credibility and support tool, for the customer. This is after your initial conversation, right? So if you know that they're a first-time home buyers, they have kids, South Austin, and they want to, start with a townhome versus a single-family home, right? That could be a specific brief, right? And so think of this brief as in the beginning, if you can't get specific enough on the audience of the brief, then you should just try making it for every single customer you talk to, but make it after the initial conversation.
I think right there, sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking, and based on what Renee said before, he can do something like first-time home buyers, like a comparison, first-time home buyer with kids in that specific location and first-time home buyers without kids in that specific locations, including schools, and, and just compare both scenarios and what is the commute and, different stuff you can add there.
So, Lisa, I think that's a great additive, and to take that and go back to our scenario based information and our decision based information. Another comparison is, okay, first time home buyers, right, with kids looking in South Austin. What decision is every first time home buyer trying to make? Whether they should actually buy that house, whether they should make that step to buy, right? So we want to reinforce their purchase decision. So part of that brief could be, what is it like to continue to rent in South Austin compared to if they bought in South Austin, right? So that marketing brief is now, we are reinforcing their decision to make that purchase, right, with this specific information to their scenario. Does that make sense? So.
Oh yeah, that's very important, Renee.
Definitely important. Carrie asked in the chat, clients that are early to mid 50s, their kids have moved out of the house. They're looking to buy their legacy house. They are professionals or entrepreneurs. Okay, so that's specific. So Carrie, you all are doing great at defining the customer. To make more specific briefs, we want to ask the question is, what are the decisions that customer has to make, right? So Carrie, what type of decisions do those customers make through their buying process? Is Carrie here?
Hey, Ben, it's Dawn. If Carrie's not ready yet, can I? Okay. All right. So I'm thinking, I'm really close to Lake Louisa, and Wellness Way has been like a conversation. So I'm wondering if for people who are really into health and wellness or trails or walking, working out, what's really important to them as having access to amenities. So maybe putting together some type of guide that says like what amenities are offered at which subdivision in that Wellness Way corridor. Like I know like Lennar is supposed to have like this state-of-the-art Olympic-sized pool versus the Pulte community has like a pickleball and tennis courts. Like so putting together maybe like some type of guide that points out the amenities or the benefits of the amenities for health and wellness people.
Yes, I think that's a great information piece, and make sure that like we don't want to provide just information,
Right.
right? So if you only listed the amenities in like groupings, not really helping make a decision. If the decision to pick a community is based on the amenities, then like the way you would want to represent that information is like a side-by-side chart, right?
Okay.
So here are the list of communities. Here's a chart that clearly shows which amenities exist in what communities, because presenting the information that way is more of an insight of, okay, I now know you're helping me make the decision by doing pros and cons.
Okay. Yes,
Makes
love
sense.
that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Carrie, so Carrie answered in the chat, views, amenities, location, and lifestyle, right? So think about that. So, kids are moving out of a house and they're looking to now buy their legacy house, professionals or entrepreneurs. So you could focus each of those, briefs on a specific combination of those views, amenities, locations, or lifestyle, right? So if you know that they're looking in a specific subdivision, or they're looking at multiple subdivisions, or they're looking for specific type of amenities like we just discussed, right? And then I also would think about like, okay, well, the kids have moved out of the house, right? What concerns do they have about selling their house, right? And moving into that legacy house. So a common question or decision for downsizers, right? Downsizer vendors is good, but a common question or decision for like, I'm selling a house and I have to buy a house is the logistics, right? What are the logistics of in this market right now? If I have to sell $1 million house and I want to downsize to a $2 million house, what are the logistics of making that happen? Because perhaps one area is going to sell faster than the other. Should I list before I buy, or for my specific market, should I buy before I list? And if I need to do the order of that, what order should I do it, right? So these are things that you typically would probably answer on a buyer consult, but you can now provide information afterwards that's more data backed. And that's like specific to their scenario, because the decision to sell and then buy, or buy and then sell, and the order of those operations of that logistical chain is solely dependent upon what does the market look like. It's not solely dependent, sorry. It's dependent upon what is the market in those areas where the transactions are to occur. And also that buyer's personal scenario and their situation financially, right? So if you're asking those questions on the initial call, then when you put together the brief can specifically say, hey, based on our discussion, right, you should probably consider to buy and then sell, because what you're looking for is in high demand and there's not a lot of options. So once we find it, we can buy it. And based on your financial situation, it sounds like you can sell afterwards. You don't have to worry about, you can take your time moving out of that large house into that smaller house and take your time kind of like getting rid of things and processing stuff. So another good example. Cool. Russ has his hand raised. So
I just didn't put it down. And
Oh, you're good.
what's the tool that you use on this? Do we have to add a new app?
Perfect segue. All right. So the tool to do this is Lovable. Who's used Lovable? Put a yes or no in the chat if you have used Lovable. Never heard of it. Ooh, Don. Okay. That's okay, Don. No. Oh, wow. Okay. This was like a huge topic at EXPCon, so. No. Okay, cool. All right, so why Lovable? Well, let me show you what Lovable is. I'm actually logged in. This is Lovable. You definitely should go this year, Don. So Lovable. Lovable is a platform to build a lot of different things, but specifically, it's a great platform to build websites. Now, the key thing here is, right, we're building a marketing brief, right, a customer brief for a specific client or a niche. This is not public facing, right? This is a credibility asset. This is something you provide after the initial conversation to seal the deal and get them to sign that representation agreement, right? And so Lovable is a great tool because the end product that you get would be something like this, right? So this was a really kind of quick build. And this is building your dream home in Winter Garden. So this is a marketing brief, right? That is prepared, by Ben Lobby. That is a comprehensive guide. I haven't edited this yet, but is focused on that customer who wants to build new construction in a specific area, like Winter Garden. So we have that scenario-based, brief. It has a little bit about me and an AI-generated photo. And then it talks about answering those questions that a buyer has to go through when they, think about buying new construction, right? So the customization process, what amenities communities have, builder incentives, timetables, that kind of thing. All the things that we would have to discuss, in a buyer consult, but all on one specific website and link, right? Now all the examples that we just discussed are a bit more specific and niched than this one that I'm demoing to you. But this is just an example, right? Because this was created pretty quickly. I don't think it's published, so I can't share the example. But this is what you can get to with some simple prompting. And Lovable is the platform to do this because once you do publish it, you can it gives you a URL at lovable.app. You can customize if you need it to, but you really don't need to. And then you can make it like a private link. And so now when you're texting someone or emailing them as a follow-up, you can be like, here is your specific plan. And this is where the power of AI comes in, because if you can personalize plans to your customers' scenarios, needs, and desires, you're going to stand out way above everyone else, right? And so this is just a brief example of what can be produced. So this is the only tool that I would use to produce something like this so far. But what I can do, so if you guys are up for it, to continue the conversation, is I wanted to put together a workshop for y'all so we could build these briefs. And so I have it scheduled for Wednesday next week. It's an hour-and-a-half workshop. You can text me at the phone number. I'll put it in the chat too, if you want the details. And what I can talk to you there, Master, I do not have compensation in my briefs, but that is something that you could decide to do, for your specific business if you wanted to. But I try to think of these briefs not as sales pitches, right? But as credibility builders, right? Because if I can if you can show to the customer you understand their scenario, their situation, and you're the best person for it, then compensation is not really a conversation, right? I'll definitely let you know, Janine. Shoot me a text and I'll put you on the list for the next one. But we're going to do this. Yeah, go for it.
So in on the platform in Lovable, did you have to like I mean, I'm guessing the AI is going to give you like templates with different suggestion of what you can do, but then you have to manually put the information, or does the AI does it for you if you give them that like the instructions?
AI does it for you. Great question. AI does it for you if you give it the instructions. So you can, all of you can go to Lovable now and test it out and talk through the conversation that we just have and build this. The whole point of doing the workshop is to get more specific, so that I'll actually have questions for y'all to fill out and really define the brief, because you can either build this fast and it will be fast and kind of generic content, or you can be very specific, and you'll get a lot better kind of result, right? And so the power of the workshop is really to kind of go through the process of defining your audiences, what questions they answer, so that your briefs are super tailored in one go. But Lovable would be the platform that y'all would use for this. You buy credits and you can then have them hosted, and can build these for you if you want as well. But I think it's the best platform for something like this, because it's a live asset, and all you're doing is then just sending people, a link for them to go to.
So you won't go through the technicalities of building the template, like, because what I'm thinking is just to, have more like, I don't know, just have a few templates ready, or one, and then just modify it. How would that work in the workshop? Or you're not going to cover that?
Oh no, in the workshop, you would actually build the website. You would leave the workshop with the site built. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
great.
Lovable builds it for you based off of a great design set. We're just providing it the right information, and I'm going to show you on the workshop exactly how to utilize Lovable. So Renee has a question as well of what materials are being provided. I'm not sure I understand your question, Megan. No?
I was thinking more from a graphic perspective. So you surprised me, though I love the idea of using Lovable. I was thinking you were going to share something like, there's AI solutions to create like slide decks and quick templates. Do you see the briefs all being in the direction of website based, or would you ever recommend doing it more in a traditional sense of like an actual printable but also digital download resource?
So I think it really kind of depends on, right, who are you seeking to serve and the audience. Personally, I lean more toward the website, because you can text a link to anyone, and they shouldn't have an issue accessing it or it loading. Whereas you could have that issue with you can't really text a PDF, not to everyone. You can't text a PDF through CRMs. Sometimes PDFs get emailed. So really your two options are like PDF, website, or print, right? There might be a certain client base that you're doing an in-person presentation and they need a physical thing. One example was 55 plus, buyers or people who are looking for 55 plus communities. But I'm going to admit, some of you, even though you don't admit it, are on this call are above the age of 55, and you don't need printed stuff. You would prefer a website. So, okay, 70 plus, they prefer print. I get that, Janine. That makes sense. I mean, my grandfather's he's 92 and he still prefers, his phone. So he'll look at it on his phone. So
Well, thank you very much for that, Ben. Great ideas. You have my creativity flowing, which I love. Everyone give it up for Ben Lobby. Thanks for sharing your time and talent with the EXP community. As you know, this recording is always housed in the Tribe Facebook group. It's usually posted in that group within about an hour or so after we wrap the call. So make sure you're in the Tribe Facebook group. Ben, thank you so much. And y'all, happy New Year. Crush this next week, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you, Ben Lobby.
thank you.
Make it a great week, everyone.